Welcome to today's roundtable conversation on a topic that is very, very timely in this day and age. It is expectations from the next generation leaders in this age of disruption. So we are here for Grow More Conversations, which is a flagship leadership webinar series by Grow More Avenues. So Grow More Avenues is an Ivy League for coach training in India. We are also the exclusive India partners for Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder Centered Coaching. Grow More also provides coaching services and leadership development initiatives across organizations. The way organizations lead and manage is shifting faster than ever. And that was the whole intent of bringing this webinar series. So this is a series where we feature top CHROs, CXOs, and leadership leaders to bring fresh perspective, real world challenges, and actionable insights to help leaders drive impact. Let me start by introducing our esteemed panelists today. So first, Sumit Joshi. He's the Director of Product Development at Whirlpool Corporation. Sumit brings over 27 years of deep expertise in innovation-led growth and product strategy. Our second panelist is Sunil Deshmukh. He's a managing partner at C-Suite Lab and global chair at IMA. Sunil is a veteran business leader with over 35 years of experience across global finance, leadership development, and strategic consulting. And we have Dr. Anil Salvi, who is currently the CEO of real estate consulting business at JM Financial. Dr. Salvi brings 35 years of multifaceted leadership experience across banking, real estate, and human resources. And we have Inderjeet with us, who is the founder and CEO of Grow More Avenues. He's a master certified coach, Marshall Goldsmith mentor for global coaches, and has been instrumental in training more than 2,000 coaches in past 10 years. Inderjeet and I will be co-moderating our conversation today. So let's dive right in, Inderjeet, shall we?
Sure, definitely. So participants, as you know, the model is we are going to ask questions to our esteemed panelists here and try and extract a lot of insights from the experience they have gathered over a period of time. So Ayushi, I'm going to invite you to jump straight in and let's see what is it that you want to ask them.
I want to talk about a statistic that was interesting to me. So according to McKinsey, 40% of the average company's business model will be obsolete in the next 5 years due to digital disruption. That is something that made us think, hey, what's happening? There's a lot of change happening. And that requires our leaders also to change along with it. We are witnessing a fundamental rewiring of what it means to lead. The hero leader of the past is giving way to more adaptive, collaborative, and systems thinking driven leaders. That's where our conversation is leading today. So here's my first question towards debugging this question. In your experience, how have expectations from new generation leaders changed in the past 5 years? So, Sumit, I think you're unmuted. We could start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Ayushi. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Absolutely.
Definitely we can, yes.
That's a great question, Ayushi. And you specifically asked in the last 5 years. So if you see the leadership expectation from leaderships, from the typical foundational ethos and values, they have not changed. I have not seen much change. But in the last 5 years, something unique has happened. Right? We all know in 2020, if I just reflect back, 2020, COVID hit all of us. And then we had geopolitical tensions, war in Europe, and then war in Middle East. We also had some big technology disruptions like ChatGPT got launched in 2022. Right? And Mana's DeepSeek and Google Gemini. So there have been a lot of changes, positives as well as negative. So one thing which has really stood out is from the leadership expectation is, I would say three things. One is resilience, perseverance. I think it's very important because when things are uncertain, going in the multiple directions, people look up to you. People look up to leaders. And then you have to stay very cool, calm, and build that confidence that, yeah, everything will be positive. So you have to be very cool and you have to show a lot of resilience. Second thing, I think when so many things are happening, there will be so many opportunities, there will be so many new directions. So you should be very clear about your priorities, right? A lot of technologies, if I just talk about the product development, a lot of things are changing. So you should be very clearly focused which wave you would like to ride on. There will be multiple waves. If I give an analogy of wave surfing, right? There will be a lot of waves, but you have to be very careful and choosy which wave you want to pick, which is good for you, for your team, for your organization. And the last thing which I would like to say, in the last 5 years, with all the disruptions happening around us, I think the change agility, the learning agility, as a leader, you have to be relevant. You have to stay relevant because technology is changing fast. You have to learn, you have to adapt to that. And you have to make sure that your organization also adapts to the changing environment. So resilience, strategic clarity, and change adaptability, I think these are the focus things which I think are the new expectations where there has been a lot of focus in the last 5 years.
Thank you, Sumit. I think those were great perspectives. Mr. Sunil, over to you. What do you think about the changes that have happened in the leadership?
Thanks, Arushi, and thanks, Inderjeet, of course, for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be amongst all of you. Good evening to all of participants.
Welcome.
And what comes to my mind, Arushi and Inderjeet, when you asked me this question, I was just a little bit thinking was wearing my reflective hat. And I remembered a very famous quote by Rumi, the Persian poet, the 13th century Persian poet. And he has a very famous quote which says that, yesterday I was clever, I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, I am changing myself. The time has come for the leaders to change now. And why I'm saying is that whatever has happened, and Sumit rightly said, multiple things happened in the last 5 years. I use the word disruption. We were disrupted completely in the last 5 years. I don't want to specify, but we all know. Now, what has happened is whatever leaders have been taught in their so-called B schools or whatever education, whatever they had, is gone thrown out of the, it's a sixer now. You don't know how to play that ball now, right? It's googly to all of us. So leaders' biggest problem is when there is no precedence to the leader, what happened in the past, they get confused. And I'm also a leader. I mean, with due respect, we are all leaders here and we are all human beings. We are all vulnerable to our own problems, even though we may not sometimes agree in front of the people in front of our stop, but we are highly vulnerable. What's change I have seen, in addition to what Sumit has said, I will not go on to those points because he has covered very nicely. One is authoritative leadership has been disappeared now. And we have what we call as authentic leadership now. You cannot be a boss now. Like when I came into the corporate world, leader means like an aggressive man. He will come and just fire people left and right, shout on the people. Autocratic leader, that's gone now. No one can. Of course, there are some political leaders, I don't want to touch upon that. But so authenticity has become very, very important. Previously, we used to have a leader who will always tell you what to do, give a directions, give the orders. In today's world, a leader needs to create a dialogue. So giving a one-way top-down approach is gone now. It's bottoms up, top-down, it's a mix, hybrid approach. So a leader need to be now have a dialogue with his employees. Stakeholders is the right word, I would say. Not because I'm a Marshall Goldsmith certified, but stakeholder is the right term here. All stakeholders, leader need to have a dialogue. Third thing, which of course Sumit covered, is adaptability. I don't want to touch upon that. But another area which I personally think has impacted a lot is that your personal achievement versus the team achievement. Previously, the leaders were champions, right? They will drive, they were like, every one of them will think he is a Sachin Tendulkar or whatever, right? Now it's not like that. It's a teamwork. A team need to perform. And this is a huge change that has happened in the past 5 years. You know, presence is, I always make this statement, presence equals productivity. When you are in the office, you can hire the people, fire the people, tell them what to do. Now that doesn't exist because you might be working in a hybrid mode. You might be working on a completely offline mode. So you have to create a trust. And trust is the most difficult thing for a leadership in today's world. And there's a famous Dutch proverb which says that trust comes walking, trust lives on a horseback. Create a trust, it takes a long time, but to break the trust, it goes like this. So these are some of things. Of course, there are multiple things, but I think I will stop here. And this is my perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, Sunil, I think I loved your quotes. Really, proverbs and quotes are really nice.
The question we've asked the panelists, and both Sunil and Sumit have answered, is, in your experience, how have expectations from new generation leaders changed in the past 5 years?
Oh, I think, very many ways, right? I think the world seems to have fast tracked, like how, right? And of course, my earlier fellow panelists talked about certain relevant bits in terms of what is this? I'm getting message there. So, in terms of the kind of commitment, trust, etc., that one needs to build to be successful. But when I look back in last 5 years, the kind of changes that has happened, that have happened, reflect on the basic fundamental in terms of how we are approaching the work, right? And the technology has played immense role. Now, in everything that we do, role of technology becomes a subject of contention, choice, argument, and deliberation, right? I think, and you'd see there's no function which is going to be void of the technology. You're talking about, yeah, AI, or you're talking about the next generation AI. I think, I think the technology seems to be here to stay. It is causing a bit of confusion. It is causing kind of disturbance, if I could say. But I think the next generation or the new generation leaders for sure should have that ability to accept, understand, and maneuver the technology that is available today. So I don't think that any manager or leader of tomorrow can ignore the role the technology is going to play in time to come. I think the world order is seems to be undergoing a change rapidly, and the new leaders will have to have other sets of competencies, which would be agility, which would be ability to lead from the front, and kind of staying ability to stay current is going to be very relevant. And I often say that my organization is 50 years old, and I often quote that my organization will undergo in next about 3 to 5 years the amount of change which would be greater than the change that it would have seen in last 50 years, right? Now you can imagine if whatever challenges, dynamics, and the changes that you would have witnessed in last 50 years, if they are going to happen in next 5 years or more than that, you can just imagine the kind of abilities and the maturity that you would need to demonstrate to be successful in the new order. I think there's a lot of unknown, and you need leaders who would be there to deal with the unknown, lead with rapid change, and deal with the competencies that they may not have. Right, the world is going to be unpredictable, and one would need to be kind of thereabout in terms of managing the unpredictability. And I guess, and that's where, yeah, and since Inder is here, you people are there, the coaching, hand-holding, counseling are the elements which are going to play extremely critical placeholders in these times. I think, people would need coaches in terms of, managing the future, which is going to be extremely dynamic, extremely dynamic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Anil. I think you have kind of summed up what earlier came across from the other two esteemed panelists over here. And just to sum it up, I think the bottom line, Ayushi, it seems, is that it is about resilience that the new leaders need to have. It is also about being able to choose the right wave, as beautifully Sumit mentioned about, because there will be multiple waves, and if you end up choosing a wrong one, then where would you go? Because change is so fast and rapid that it will be difficult. So choosing wisely, and of course,
in the order, I think in time to come, I think you will make mistakes. It's virtually going to be impossible for
not to make mistake.
You take 10 decisions, there will be 5 decisions or 4 decisions, or even a new world order 6 decisions, which may not be successful.
And that
would be how do you
manage?
How do you deal with even those decisions and come out of those minor setbacks that you might witness?
Face. Thank you for correcting me there. That's true, and that is where we need to be more flexible, agile, be able to adapt to the change. And so one thing which is coming out very loud and clear is that what worked 5 years before is no longer working. And the main reasons being the unknown, unpredictable, the fast nature of change. These are really very disruptive. And of course, as Sunil mentioned beautifully, how authoritative style is changing and has already changed kind of into authentic style of leadership. And top-down approach doesn't work. It's more about dialogue, and it's also about building trust. Fair enough. So that is how it is, Ayushi. So what else do you want to bring on the table for the audience here?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we definitely know what is it that has changed. I now want to ask, what stories can you share where a leadership approach or a mindset that worked in the past became ineffective and had to be unlearned or transformed? And this is real life example we are talking about, so that
Yeah.
the audience who is keen to understand this understands from a story or an example that you can share with us.
Okay, Mr. Sunil Deshmukh, it's your turn. Please go ahead.
Okay, based on my experience, so I don't know how many of you know, I'm the global chairman of Institute of Management Accountants of America, which is an American body of 140,000 members worldwide, 105 years old body, and I'm the first non-American to be the global chair of this institute. Now, when I took over as a global chairman, and now as a leader, obviously, by default, I am leader, even though I like or don't like it. Biggest change we did it's an educational institution, right? We provide a CMA, Certified Management Accounting Certification. What we brought in as a corporate membership, 105 years history, we never had a corporate membership in the team. We thought that in the changing world now, we need to educate the corporate world also about the finance profession, management accounting profession, competencies, risk management. It's not only individuals. Corporates need to bring in all this type of thing. So we brought, that is the biggest change from a leadership point of view we brought in. Second big change we brought in was, which is revolutionary and which will hit the wall, whatever roof. So we got an exam on demand concept. So for example, when we want to pass a chartered accountancy exam or a cost accountancy exam in India or anywhere else, you have the exam windows twice a year, once a year or something like that. In IMA USA, we brought in for one of our program called FMAA. You want to write exam now, today, you can go and write exam today. So exam on demand concept, Global Institute was brought in for the first time because we realized that new Gen Z doesn't want to follow what you want to do. They have their own mechanism, they have their own timelines and all those things. So we brought in that. Other third biggest, largest thing we brought in was that we brought in for the first time a non-American as a global chair of the institute, because we are a global organization now. Our maximum growth is happening outside America. So we need a person who understands what happens outside America and not what happens inside the America. So multiple changes. And this is what agility of an organization I can talk about. We are so agile. And of course, I don't want to talk about the technology platforms and AI and our skills academy, our mentoring. I don't want to get into that. Everyone does that. But I think these are the three main changes we have done as far as IMA, which is my organization at present, is concerned. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing. Mr. Sumit, yeah, please. Go.
Yeah, so first of all, I completely echo what Sunil shared. I think the global mindset, it's the need of the hour, because now if you see Indian companies, the way Indian executives are being part of the C-suits, so it's very important to have the right representation, to have the right seat on the table. One story which I would like to share from my industry, before coming to my current organization, I spent 13 to 14 years in aerospace. 3-4 years back, when I proposed to have some virtual tools, because right now, if you see the way products are developed, we have a lot of advanced software, sophisticated software. So you don't have to actually build the prototype or a physical product. You can build everything on a computer and you can test it, and it can save a lot of time. So there was a situation when I was discussing with the project team, I was proposing them that, guys, why we are making so many prototypes and testing them and then breaking those products? Why don't we use some sophisticated tools? And surprisingly, the tool technology was there, but the mindset was not there. Mindset was missing. So there's a lot of hesitation to use the advanced tools. And I can agree, because this is the way we have been developing products, building multiple prototypes, testing them, and then gaining confidence. But we started at a smaller scale, and now I'm very happy and proud that 100% of the tests are done virtually. So you don't have to actually build a physical product. And that was a big saving to the company, and more than the saving in today's world. the speed to market is very, very critical. It's not that I'm competing, if I'm in the appliance business, I'm competing with the Indian companies, I'm competing with the multinational companies. So I have to go with the speed. So I think we have to adapt. So tool, technologies, talents you can get, but the right culture and the mindset is very important to make it work. So as a new young leader, I think we have to challenge the status quo, and we cannot boil the ocean in a one day. We have to show some simple proof of concepts, and then the organization, when they see the clear tangible benefit, then they will support you. So that's one mindset shift or the cultural shift story I wanted to share with all of you.
Sure, sure. So my question to, unfortunately, to both our only two of our panelists who are left here with us for now is that these are great examples that you have shared with us of the changes that you have introduced recently or your organization has been going through. We would also like to know if there is any particular thing that you did differently in the sense that from the leadership point of view, any decision or a strategy that was radically different from our traditional way of we were doing things in our industry. So anything else that can any other example that can hit you from your industry or any other reference for that matter, not necessarily your industry.
So I can think of an example, Inderjeet,
Yeah,
and as you know, in today's world, it's very important to be digitally savvy. You have to be
sure,
digitally literate, and in fact, AI fluency you should have.
true.
And this is something which we have been trying to break. We have a big product development center,
Mhm.
and we tried some experiments, some kind of a pilot projects, but we are not going anywhere. So
Okay,
what I proposed, because every year we hire some bright students from IITs, and I said, guys, we will not lead. I told my senior people, senior lead engineers or senior engineers, guys, now ask them to do it.
okay,
And let's first of all recognize they are much better. They are much more digitally savvy than us. So it was a
okay,
bit confusing, conflicting. People were saying, hey, how they don't know anything about products. I said, no, that's where you come in. You bring the tribal knowledge about the product development, but let them drive the digital part of it. So we
okay.
created this kind of a bonding. It was a great learning experience for the newcomers, those new interns who came from IIT. It was a great
Mhm,
opportunity for them to learn from seniors about the product.
mhm,
Also, it was a great opportunity for those senior engineers to learn about digital tools and methods and technologies from
mhm.
those young IIT engineers.
Right.
I also personally learned, I used to sit with them, I used to learn about various digital tools, and that created a lot of positive outcomes. We created a couple of POCs. People were coming on weekends, they were using Python, they were coding and things. There was a project. We had a timeline of 4 months. We were able to do it within a month
Wow.
because young engineers, they were teaching us Python, how to do coding. And I think it was a pretty good, enriching experience for all of us. So thought of sharing with this
Wonderful.
group.
Thank you. And that's an
Thanks for
example of,
sharing that.
authentic leadership, like what Sunil mentioned earlier. And Sumit, this also is what we sometimes call reverse mentoring, right? So
Exactly.
you don't have to be the leader and know everything. You can always learn from people who are below you.
Exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense. And it requires a lot of mindset shift for the leaders to acknowledge and accept it, right? So I must honor and thank you for this because it requires a lot of courage and humility to recognize and then do something like that. Yeah. Okay. Sunil, if you have anything more to share.
Yeah, two examples I can give
Mhm.
from my organization. One of the thing what we did is, so we have a competency framework for our professionals. Each like
Okay.
coaches have their own competency professional and all those things. We realized that the contents or what are the quadrants we had in our competency profession have gone through a drastic change in last 4 to 5 years. One of them being like the impact of technology on the finance profession. Now, when we were preparing our competency framework previously, the weightage given to technology was roughly around 20%, 1 in 5, sorry, 1/5. Okay. Now
Okay.
we have realized that now the importance of technology is so high that we need to increase that weightage from 20% to almost 30 or 35%. So
Okay.
we have redone completely our competency framework, and we brought in a lot of new things which were not in existence. So that's one big thing we have done change. And in a big organization, it takes long to change the competency framework. We have to get board approval and this and that. That's one. We have done that. Second thing, what we have done is all unwanted overheads, extra real estates, offices in multiple locations in the world, all those type of things. We said this is a time to cut the costs. And we said that we will have only one office, one physical building, which will be owned by us or which will be rented by us. Everything else will go in a hybrid mode. People will work from whatever, business centers or homes and all those things. And we saved a lot of money by doing that. And it was easy for me, of course, as a chair, to convince my board and get their approval. You know what has happened in the last 5 years? It's time for us to cut the cost. Imagine this, I would have tried to do 5 years back, there would have been huge resistance. No, this building is our reputation, all those things. Now it's all gone. So we did that. One of the big change, that cutting the cost, reducing unwanted overheads, people, processes, offices, vehicles. We did a huge transformation on that side in last 2 to 3 years.
That's interesting. So having assets, which used to be really something powerful for organizations, and now the assets are becoming human beings, no longer buildings and cars and bikes and stuff like that, right? Which is really powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now your asset is your people. And we started giving different training to the people now, how to run the organization when you don't have the real estate assets and all those type of assets.
Right. So on a lighter side note, when you were saying that we have started cutting overheads, I was thinking, okay, finance guy is taking so long to cut overheads. I was thinking, what took you guys so long to decide to cut on overheads? So wherever you go to any finance department, the first thing they do is negotiate, cut the overheads, cut the cost. That's very natural, right? But
it is like how many times a coach himself or herself goes through the supervision after getting qualified.
I understand. Yeah. Fair enough. So I like that. So these are good examples. And for the sake of our participants here, me and Ayushi and Garima, when we were planning this webinar, we thought, let's drill our panelists with some real life examples, because general gyan, general knowledge, information said in big heavy words, sometimes we have heard everywhere, but listening to some specific examples helps us really connect with the person, with the issues, and then we can draw some conclusions from there, right?
I have another question, Inderjeet, that might be interesting for our participants. So, you must have seen some high potential leaders in your organizations struggle with disruption or scale, given all that we have been talking about this evening. What helped them shift and grow into next level leaders then? These high potential leaders who struggled with that. I think that's what will be interesting for us.
Definitely, because we all now agree that last 5 years has been not a rapid change, but it has been disruption, right? So what has really helped some of the leaders who have really tided over these changes and these waves? Sumit, I'll come to you.
Inderjeet, I think if I get the question right, I think some of the high pot leaders we have been watching and we have been proving in our organization for last many years. I think the last 5 years were a clear kind of a shift, and it was a very clear test of their character and leadership core strength, because there have been a lot of changes. Some teams, some product families got adversely impacted. If I just talk about my organization, and I've seen high pot leaders whom we were thinking that they are capable of going to a very, very high level. They were getting unnerved, they were confused, they were bitter, they were cribbing, and somehow they lost the track somewhere. And surprisingly, some of the leaders who were not so great as per our talent assessment, they stood up, they rose to the challenge, they guided a team, they created that clarity, that direction. So it was a big eye opener for all of us. I'm being very candid here, Inderjeet. So in a crisis, you really get an opportunity to test the character of a person. And as a leader, when everything is going great, and maybe you are a very good tech savvy person, you are good in everything, but in the real crisis, I think that was a true test of leadership. And I'm very happy. And I was also going through, Inderjeet, as you know, I have been going through this program, Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder coaching program. So I got an opportunity to mentor, coach two leaders, and they also got significantly benefited. But I think in those times, the focus, the consistency, and the perseverance, I've seen these three differentiating qualities in those leaders who really did an exceptional job as a leader, as a people leader, because they were connected with their team. They were not aloof through the whole drastic situation. They were very well communicating the org strategy. So how effectively you communicate the org strategy, how effectively you build up, boost up the confidence of the team. So I think, again, I will refer to Sunil's point of authoritative leadership to authentic leadership.
Right.
So an authentic leader leads with the values, and authoritative leader leads by position. So in crisis, you really get to experience, practice, and demonstrate your authentic leadership.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sumit. So if I was to sum up what you said, and you can correct me, the key characteristics of the leaders who stood up during this time of disruption were perseverance, being consistent, and staying connected with their teams. Does that sum up well what you said?
Exactly. Inderjeet.
Okay, great. Thank you. That is useful. Sunil,
Great to know.
what do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question, Inderjeet, and I would just want to touch upon here a totally different topic, which is called executive loneliness.
Okay.
And I have, of course, I have given a lot of work on executive loneliness and written articles. But what means me as a coach, as well as me as my organization's global chair, we found out, or we sort of did a survey. I would say not a depth of survey, but like a desktop survey, you can say, talking to people, identifying if some of the people are going through executive loneliness problem. And that was a very important step that we took, because we are a spread out organization. We are present in 100 countries. Everywhere there's a different problem. China problem is different. India problem is different. Philippines problem. So we did that. And that was done on one-on-one call through a Zoom call, like 20 minutes and half an hour. We sent a questionnaire in advance. And I use the term called executive loneliness is an equal opportunity destroyer. Executive loneliness or mental stress, or whatever you want to use the word. I don't want to get into a psychology of that, but it is not that only people in the middle management and junior management go through a mental issues. It's also the people in the senior management, leadership level, they also go through this problem. And that's what we addressed. And of course, I'm not saying we had a big problem there, but we found out that there are some symptoms that we need to look at the psychological safety of our people because of COVID and disruption and so many changes. Too many changes also, we all love status quo psychologically, right? Too many changes were impacting people's efficiencies. A lot of people were confused how to work from the home and all. So executive loneliness and psychological safety is one thing. Other thing, what I always make a statement is that in today's world, empathy is the new executive presence. You have to be an empathetic leader. You cannot live today as a leader if you're not showing empathy towards your people, towards your stakeholders, whatever you want. And third thing, which is very close to my heart and your heart, and definitely Sumit's heart, is feedback versus feed forward.
Yeah.
And you know this thing, I don't want you to define that, but we started in the mode of giving a feed forward to the people and not the feedback during this period of last 2 to 3 years. I think that
Wonderful.
worked very well. Still a work in progress, process. I don't want to commit that we are 100% there, but
Right.
we are making a delta on that.
Fair
Thanks.
enough. Yeah, that's useful. So do something to manage your loneliness, your stress, be empathetic as a leader, and don't give feedback, give feed forward, right? These are some good strategies you've shared. So Aisha, I'm back to you.
We have Dr. Anil Salvi online now.
Hello, sir. Welcome back.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Just had to.
Yeah.
So we are, I don't know how much you have heard or not. So, but we have got answers to the question we asked from two panelists, and you are the third one. So, Aishi, if you can ask
Let
the
me
question.
repeat the
sir.
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The question that we were talking about was, have you seen any high potential leaders in your organization struggle with disruption or scaling or any of these challenges? And what helped them shift and grow into next level leaders from that state of struggling?
Yeah. So when you talk about an high potential leader, I'll assume that he or she would be high performing one as well. Right?
Yep.
And I guess, I don't want to open a different set of interaction, but many a times, there could be possibly, the description of high potential versus high performing executive, the description being used interchangeably.
Sure.
To my mind, that they are two different capabilities. But
Dr. Anil, we cannot hear you.
can
You're
you hear me
speaking.
now? Hello,
Now I
you hear
can.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. So my question, Dr. Anil, our question is like whether they were high performance or high potential leaders who could manage these disruptions, which we spoke of earlier, rapid change, new technology, etc., etc. What were the characteristics which helped them manage those changes? Those who could.
I think, the people, the ones who were, I think, the earlier panelists and Sunil, I think, spoke about the empathetic leaders. So the leaders which had the teams working with them, the leaders which had an ecosystem around them to support and help them. I've seen them succeed more frequently than the ones who actually worked in a silo manner. It was very interesting to hear about the lonely executive. But yes, I think the people who had that ability to communicate, the managers who had the ability to listen, the people who were more engaged and involved were the people who were able to weather the disruptions far better than others. But when you talk about, high performing executives, I have also seen that these are the executives which generally would be prone high stress, right? These are the executives which would possibly work much more harder, much more longer, and so on, right? And they would also be more vulnerable than others. And yes, and that's the reason you would see the high-performing executives and managers facing, struggling with the challenge of management. I think, as I said earlier in the people, the managers who would have that ability to stay the course, have that maturity, that understanding, and don't have stress around the relationships in the organizations would be in a better place to deal with the challenges of the future.
Okay, that is helpful. So I think the bottom line, if I was to sum up from all the three panelists here, is that they need to be empathetic, they need to be consistent, they need to stay at it. You can't just give up, and have better communication with your team. Have an ecosystem around you, have teams working with you, and communicate to them on a regular basis. And one of the ways to communicate is give feed forward rather than feedback. So these are some of the, I think, summaries that I would draw from here. Ashi, back to you.
What came out for me was actually emotional intelligence was there in all the three answers, and that is something that is increasingly becoming more important.
And do we have some questions, participants? If you have any questions you would like to ask the panelists or you would like us to ask them, please feel free to put them in the chat box.
I just have a question. I'm sorry if I.
Sure. No,
Yes,
please go
sure.
ahead.
So this is Shweta here, and it's
Thank you.
you, Inderjeet, after so long. I mean, it was good to hear from the leaders and from all walks of the industry. I just want to understand that since we here heard about what is it that we need, I just also want these panelists to just highlight as what do they see as the top three. I don't want to use the word challenge. I would directly want to say gap here that we see in today's leadership.
Mhm.
This is not to point at, but I just feel we need to as leaders also call out this so that we know it is there and how do we work towards it.
So if I was to put the question in my language words, I would say, what is it that today's leaders need to do now going forward, bridge the gap? What's the gap and what
Yeah.
is it that they need to do about it, right? Okay, so I'll as always come to Sumit.
Hey, first of all, Shweta, thank you for asking this question. It's a great question. If I have to pick top three things where I would expect a new young leader to build the capabilities, One is as a people leader, as a leader, first of all, a passion for your product. Whatever you do, you should be very passionate. You should know whichever business you are in, if you are making washing machines, if you're making aerospace pump, if you're making toothpaste, FMCG, whatever you are doing, have a genuine passion for your product, for your business, know your consumers, because that's very core, that's very fundamental. Other
Mhm.
tools, technologies will keep on coming, AI, virtualization, a lot of things will keep on coming here. But the core fundamental is very, very important. And that will take you afar. That will
Okay.
get you respect and authenticity. Second part of the leadership is people. It's all about people. So, and the one basic thing, which is humility, listen to people. Sometimes people don't express. Good thing is that in today's generation, if I just compare with our generation, we were just always saying, yes, sir, yes, sir. We never had a courage to challenge or ask questions to our leaders. Today's generation is much more confident. They're very bold. They push us back. And it's good. It's a great thing. So listen to them. They will come up with great ideas which you can't think of it. So stay humble, keep on learning, even if the learning has to come from a very young college fresh graduate. So never have that mindset that, okay, I know everything. Because I have seen that typically our star performers, those are individual contributors who are getting exceptional results year over year. They become manager, and then they still operate from the same thing that, okay, it's all me, myself, I, me, myself. So you have to
Correct.
really think about the people first. And the last thing is that you have to continuously learn. The way everything is changing so fast, you can't afford to just stay where you are. You have to stay current, contemporary. So never ever stop learning, continuously learn. That will also get you a lot of respect, credibility, and authenticity. So know your business, know your product, know your consumers. Fundamentals are really important. People connect, team management, people management is very important. And last thing is that as a leader, stay current and contemporary.
Okay, that's powerful.
Very nicely put, yes. Mr. Sunil, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, thanks. Interesting question, and thanks for asking that. So, of course, whatever Sumit has said, in addition to that, of course, what he said is all fact. I would say that today's leaders needs to be ambidextrous. And when I say ambidextrous, means the leadership which balances the human-centered approach with a tech-savvy decision making. Today, a leader cannot survive if he or she does not know human side of the business or whatever leadership and technology. You can't survive as a leader without technology and without human side. So that's one. Second thing, what a change totally, which I personally think, I have been a CEO, group CEO, multiple years, lived in 5 countries. What a change is today's leaders need to make a sense of what's happening around them. And I call that as a sense-making approach. There's a theory of Carl Wick, a German psychologist. I don't want to get into that. I've done a research on that. I've written a book on that. But leader continuously need to make sense what's happening around him or her. And take a classic example, tariff, right? I wrote an article on LinkedIn last month, which I said that today's leader needs to be think like a diplomat. So how tariffs are going to impact your business? How many leaders have been trained to look at the tariff and impact of tariff on your business? You're not even CFOs, forget about CXOs or CEOs. So leaders need to make that sense that what is going to impact me. And there's a huge difference between common sense and sense making. So that's second part. Third part is your adaptive quotient or adaptive intelligence. How quickly you adopt. We talk about EQ, we talk about IQ. I am talking about adaptive quotient. Your adaptability to the changing environment. That's another thing which leaders need to find out. Other thing which I personally feel in a corporate world is a huge gap, which I really would like to do something on that if possible, is all the leaders have forgotten or they don't bother beyond the level about the sustainable development goals of United Nations. There have been SDGs, 17 SDGs, sustainable development goals, signed by whatever 160 United Nations member countries in the year 2050. And we all agreed that we'll achieve by 2030. We are already in 2025. Nothing has happened. And it includes your sustainability. It includes your environmental, social governance, or all those things. So I think these are certain things leaders need to look at them, that a leader job is not only to make profit. The concept of triple bottom line or triple P, planet, people, and profit, is very, very important. Leaders typically work towards profit and people, less towards planet. And I think that's where today's leadership need to start looking at very seriously. Thanks.
Wonderful.
Interesting perspective. We do
Yeah.
have Dr. Anil Salvi online, and we have 4 minutes left in the meeting. Dr. Anil Salvi, would you like to comment on this? What is the gap that you see, top 3 gaps in leaders today?
Yeah, I guess, sometime back I came across a concept called servant leadership, right? And I think, the whole idea is you are kind of working for the team that is working with you and so on, right? So it is not top to bottom, but bottom to top, right? I think, increasingly I'm seeing the disconnect from that, right? A leader thinks that it is his job alone to make it happen and make it work.
We're not able to hear you, Doctor.
The organizations tend to hold the leader alone responsible, and as a on a post-mortem basis, right? Uh, so I think that's a bit unfair. I think leaders today need as much hand-holding as compared to any other level, right? The role, and then we of course, we've spoken today at length about the same, the humility that one has, and then managing the current generation of managers is a different kind of a, certainly, and 100% not going to work today. And what is going to work probably in 2 to 3 years time is probably not work today. So I think that's the realization one needs to have. And I'm to be honest, I'm not too sure. The leaders who have been successful today, they need to know that there is no guarantee that they would be a successful leaders of tomorrow, unless they bring about that adaptability, that change that may be required. And one needs to change very fast and rapidly. I think earlier and in time earlier, I think we had enough and more time. So probably I'll consider my generation as a better generation. I think we had all the time, and the corporate and the world was kinder to us. I'm telling you, the world is not going to be kinder. I
If
think
you're not changing fast.
yeah, I think
No, the
I
world is
understand.
so.
not kind to leaders today as well, right?
I'm just saying that it's going to be more unkinder, right?
Yeah.
It is going to be.
It might sound morbid, but I think what I'm saying is there'll be a lot
It's
more
the
expected
reality.
from the leader.
True.
A lot more expected from the leader. Let me put it the other way, than what is
Yeah.
being expected today. And
Yeah.
and just the way today, whatever the expectations that we have from leaders is far greater and more than probably that was 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? I think the world is undergoing a change,
Change. Yeah.
and the people, the leaders who are able to manage the change, would be the ones who would witness and experience the success.
So I think that's very nicely said. And I think all the 3 panelists have kind of echoed similar thoughts here and there. Be contemporary, be relevant, be humble, and be adaptive to the change, be able to adopt to the change very fast, be flexible, and sense-making approach, which I also really like. So, and also how to adopt to the technology, which Dr. Anil mentioned earlier, and Sunil also brought up now, how to create that fine balance between, human beings and technology, which is going to be very important for any leader. So to sum it up, look at the bigger goals, look at where your planet is going, be humble, and stay current, contemporary, change at the speed of change. So those are the, I think, key things that are required for today's leaders, I would say. Ayushi.
Yeah, no, absolutely well summarized, Inderjeet. I think you've covered everything. I had the same understanding from what has been said. Emotional intelligence, adaptability, speed, that human connect. Mr. Sumit said, right? Anybody who succeeded was the person who had connection with their teams, and that's going to become more important. Thank you, everyone. I think we are on dot as always. And thanks for your the stories that you brought out. Those are very important for this generation, emerging leaders to hear. Thank you, Dr. Anil Salvi. I know it was difficult for you. You had a meeting at this time. Sumit is joining us from his hometown during a vacation. So thanks for that. Thank you, Mr. Sunil. And thanks to our participants for joining. And we will, by the way, publish this recording on our YouTube channel. So please look out if you want to share with someone. That would be great as
Sure.
well.
I would like to personally thank Sumit, Sunil, and Dr. Anil. Thank you so much for honoring us and being here. And we look forward to more support from you going forward, participation in such webinars and other things. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Inderjeet.
Bye-bye.
And thank Ayushi.
Yeah.
Have a great evening and
Thank
connect
you.
me on LinkedIn. Talk to me. Connect with me.
Sure, we will, sir. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Everyone,
so
thank you
much.
so much.
Everyone.